Welcome to North Point Online. We're excited that you're joining us, especially if it's your first time. We're all looking for ways to stay connected right now. And to help, we have created some resources right on our website. A great way to stay connected is through community. Maybe a weekly online group is the place for you. To sign up, fill out the form on our groups page. And if you have kids, we know it can be hard to keep them engaged, so we have lots of great content for them as well. Go to the This Week page and follow Upstreet and Wombaland on Facebook or Instagram for fun ideas and activities all week long. Lastly, we know that many people are in need of help right now. Check out the resources page to let us know how we can help you or to find ways that you can help or pray for others. Now, we've got a great service planned for you, so get comfortable and we'll get started.
I love my mom because she is always putting my needs before hers and is consistently supporting me in everything that I do.
Happy Mother's Day, Mom. I just want to say I love you and I thank you so much for the sacrifices you make for my happiness.
I love my mom because she's shown me what unconditional love and support can do to a person.
Thank you again to say Happy Mother's Day.
Oh, thank you. That's really sweet.
All right.
I'm grateful for my mom because she does anything she can for my family, even when it's not necessarily convenient for her.
I'm so thankful to my mom, who's working in the hospital overtime 5 nights a week right now, working on the COVID-19 crisis and helping to save people's lives. She's done a lot for me and my family, and now she's helping the world.
Thank you so much for being so hard on me growing up. Made me into a good young man, and I really appreciate that. I love that smile of yours. She's smiling like that right now. She's just cooking right now.
Just want to say Happy Mother's Day from North Point. Yeah.
I'd be lucky if I'd even half the woman she is when I'm older. I hope that all moms feel special today and every single day because they definitely deserve it.
I love my mom because I'm like 7 inches taller than her. No, I'm just kidding. She'd smack me if she heard me say that.
I am most grateful for my mother's integrity and support for me and all the love that she gives me all the time and just how hard she works.
Without my mom's love, creativity, and wisdom, I don't even know where I'd be.
She has just been an amazing mom and has always been there for me.
No matter what I do or how I do it, she lets me know that I'm loved and I'm cared for and that I always have a safe place to go to.
She really is my best friend. She's always there for me and she's always down to do fun and adventurous things and explore new things. So Mom, if you're watching, I hope you have an incredible Mother's Day. I love you so much.
Happy Mother's Day.
Happy Mother's Day.
Happy Mother's Day.
Happy Mother's Day.
And Happy Mother's Day.
Happy Mother's Day, Mom. I love you.
Well, there you have it, and happy Mother's Day to all of you moms out there. We hope you have a fantastic day and week for those of you who are tuning in later on in the week. And specifically for me, I just want to say a shout out to my mom. If you're watching, I love you, I appreciate you, and I hope you have an amazing day. But to everyone watching, I'm grateful you're tuning in here at North Point Online. My name is Jeremy, and I'll be your online host. It was so cool this past week to see the love going out to moms in that video. More proof that our church is so much more than a building, but it's a community of people coming together, growing, and loving our city. And if you're new, watching for the first time, or looking to perhaps take a next step and discover more about this community of people, then I am so glad you're tuning in, and I just want to encourage you to click on the Connect with Us box below or in your chat and sign up to get the latest on what is happening around here. Speaking of what is happening around here, today, this week, we are starting a new series called On the Other Side, looking at what we can do in our lives practically right now to get to the other side of where we ultimately want to end up. We're going to be with our lead pastor, Buck, but before we jump into today's message, our band led by Taylor and Dom put together a great set of music for you this past week. So feel free to sing along, hum along, or just soak it in. Don't forget to jump into Facebook chat and say hi, but with that being said, here is the North Point Band.
Jesus, right now I give it all to you. Your love is wild for me. It isn't shy. It's unashamed. Your love is proud to be seen with me. Cause you don't give your heart in pieces. You don't hide yourself to tease us. And uncontrolled and uncontained, your love is a fire burning bright for me. It's not a spark, it's not just a flame. Your love is a light that all the world will see. You don't give your heart in pieces. You don't hide yourself to tease us. You don't give your heart in pieces. You don't hide yourself to tease us. Your love's not a fraction, it's not a troubled mind. It isn't anxious, it's not the restless kind. Your love's not passive, it's never disengaged. It's always present, it hangs on every word you say. Love keeps its promises, it keeps its word, honors what's sacred, 'cause it's vows to good. Your love's not broken, it's not insecure. Your love's not selfish, 'cause your love is pure. You don't give your heart in pieces. You don't give your heart in pieces.
I hope you're well, you're staying healthy,
whether you're on your couch or you are on your back porch. And it's just so good to be singing with you all. I know that it's a little bit different that we haven't been gathering, but all the same, we're singing to God, and that's all that matters. These are words and prayers that we're singing to God. And I'm excited because this Sunday we are introducing a new song to you called The Blessing. And I think it's such a great time to introduce this because since we aren't gathered together, we as a band would just love to sing these words over you. And this happens to be a very special Sunday because it's Mother's Day. And so if you're a mother watching, we want to sing these words over you. And the chorus of this song, it says, Amen, Amen, Amen. A word that you hear all the time in church. If you've ever been around church, you know the word Amen. But do you know what Amen means? So when we pray, we end with Amen, which simply means, let it be. Let these words that I'm praying, God, let it be. So we pray that you would be blessed by these words this morning.
His favor be upon you for 1,000 generations, in your family, in your children, and the children, and the children. May His favor be upon you 1,000 generations, and your family, and your children, and the children, and the children. May His presence go before you, and behind you, and beside you, all around you, and within you. He is with you, He is with you. In the morning, in the evening, and you're coming, and you're going, and you're weeping, and rejoicing. He is for you, He is for you. Amen, amen,
That song is full of powerful words, but one of the most powerful themes throughout it is that there is a God who is not only for you in your life, but also for your future legacy, for the future generations to come, for your family, and for your kids. Which is why we as a church have wanted to make sure that in this season we all find ourselves in, that we posture ourselves in the same way as our Heavenly Father by being for the next generation. If you have kids at home, we know that things might be chaotic, loud, and you don't necessarily need more things to do. And because of that, we've done our best to create easy content that your kids can really just have fun with, engage in, and ultimately grow in their own faith. And that content can be found updated weekly at npaustin.com/thisweek and on social media throughout the week at our Wombaland and Upstreet Instagram pages. Listen, I know that everyone's economic situation is looking so different right now, but if you've been able to continue giving to North Point, or perhaps you've just started giving to North Point, thank you so much for your generosity, because you allow us to continue being for your kids, your legacy, your family, and the kids and families in this community as well.
Well, I want to wish you a happy Mother's Day, and I hope today has been an amazing day for you. Perhaps you had, breakfast in bed, or maybe you had some fresh squeezed OJ, which is wonderful, or perhaps, somebody got you some flowers. And just in case you didn't get flowers for Mother's Day, I want to give you these flowers virtually. This is my gift to you. And what's really fun about these flowers is on this base, it has all these hearts, which means it's sending out all this love. So this is my gift, my virtual gift to you. And I just want to say happy Mother's Day. And so I'm going to take your flowers. I'm going to set them back over here. And, as we think about Mother's Day, I also think it's really important to acknowledge on this day that there's a lot of mixed emotions. And that's for a lot of different reasons. For me, it's mixed emotions because my mom passed away about 10 years ago. And today's a day I celebrate Jill, my beautiful wife, and her mom, and all of you moms. But today is a day that has mixed emotions. And I just think that's really important to acknowledge on this day. Now, as I think about moms and as I think about Mother's Day, I'm just telling you, moms are so incredibly important. You are so incredibly important. And moms, there's so many reasons as to why, but this week I was thinking about you, and I was thinking about all the things you say. And moms, you say all kinds of fun things and funny things and such important things in the lives of your kiddos. For example, as I think about some funny things, I think about something that Jill says all the time, and I hear across our house. And with 5 boys, this is the context of it. With 5 boys, she says this all the time. And she says this. She says, "Who peed on the seat?" Right? And if you're a mom of a boy, you totally relate with this. You're like, yes, I say this all the time. Because for whatever reason, our sons will go into the bathroom and they will have their Braveheart moments where they'll look around and they're like, freedom! And they just, they go everywhere. And you're constantly as a mom going, look at this. Who peed on the seat? Something else that I think about that moms say that at least my mom said to me a bunch, especially when I would push against her and I'd be like, why mom, why mom, why mom? My mom would say this all the time. She would say, because I'm the mom, that's why. and I think if you were to translate this, essentially what a mom is saying when they say, hey, I'm the mom, that's why, is saying, I'm at my wit's end. I've been trying to convince you of what to do, and I'm tired of that. So listen, I'm the mom. Just do what I've asked you to do. And I think a lot of moms say this. And something else I think that, moms say pretty universally is this, is when it comes to mom, they'll say, hey, go ask your father. Especially when it's an awkward question, like your son or your daughter comes up and says, hey, mom, where do babies come from? It's like, oh, convenient. Go ask your father. And my point is this, is that moms, you say a lot of fun things and a lot of funny things, but you also say a lot of important things. For example, one of the things you say that's so important in the lives of your kids is this, is you say, I'll always love you, no matter what. And that's such a big deal because that speaks to the unconditional love to your son, to your daughter. Or something else very important you say is this, is that you say, I would not trade you for anyone in this world. In other words, you have so much value, so much significance. You have so much worth in my eyes. And that communicates to your kids such an important lesson. And something else you say that I love and that's so unique to you as a mom is this, is you say, honey, I'm so sorry. Tell me more. In other words, you bring that emotion out of your kids. You bring the fears or the concerns or the joy, and you help them develop their emotional health as a mom. And that's so unique to your role. And guys, I could go on and on and on. But my point is, moms, you are so incredibly important. And not only do you say important things to your kiddos, but honestly, there's something you say, moms, that's so important to what we're going to be talking about today. And really, really important to this entire series that we're launching today called On the Other Side. And the thing that you say that's so relevant to our discussion today, as well as relevant to this brand new series, is this. Moms will say, sweetie, let me tell you where that leads. In other words, sweetie, I can see how life is connected. Sweetie, I can see kind of the wisdom of life. I can see that direction or those choices or those actions, that's going to lead somewhere. And you go, hey, if you don't call him back, let me just tell you where that's going to lead. If you don't do your homework, let me just tell you where that's going to lead. Or to your kiddos and maybe your sons, you go, if you don't shower and if you don't stop using Axe body sprays, your showering method, it's not going to work out well for you, right? And here's what's so unique about you moms, is that you know where things lead. You can connect the dots of life. You have this wisdom in life, and you say it all the time, or moms say it all the time. Hey, sweetie, let me just tell you where that's going to lead. And here's what you understand. As a mom, you understand this very important but yet simple principle. And the principle, you know, is this, is that your direction trumps your intention every time. Is that your direction trumps your intention every single time in life. And that's not only true from moms to kids. Guys, that's true for all of us. That no matter how much emotion we may have, no matter what our dreams may be, no matter how much desire we may have, at the end of the day, direction trumps intention. Direction trumps intention every single time. In fact, to illustrate that, what I want to do is I actually want to draw you a picture. And I just want to warn you, I am no Picasso, but let's try this out and see how it works. So to illustrate this very simple principle, I want to introduce you to two individuals. So you have this first individual right here, and this individual has very spiky hair. So we'll just call him, for sake of discussion, we'll call him Buck. So you have Buck here, and then you have another individual, and she has such beautiful hair and beautiful eyes. Look at her right there. And so, just for the sake of our discussion, we'll call her Jill. And so you have Buck and Jill. And Buck and Jill, they have these intentions. And they want to get on the other side of those intentions. They want to experience their dreams. They want to experience their desires. And so on the other side, to kind of visually represent that, I'm going to draw this road right here. And we want to get on the other side of the road. And on the other side of the road are intentions. And so Buck and Jill, they have these marriage intentions. They want to have a sexy and vibrant marriage. They want to have an authentic marriage. They want to have a marriage filled with trust. They want to have a marriage where they continue to discover one another, week after week, day after day, year after year. And not only is that an intention, but they also have the intention to be great parents and parenting. And when it comes to being, great parents, they want to capture the heart of their sons. They want to make sure that, when their sons get older, maybe in their 20s and 30s and 40s, that their kids want to come home, not because of guilt or anything weird, but because of the relationship that's established. That's a dream they have together. And not only when it comes to parenting, but they have financial dreams and financial intentions. And financially, they want to be healthy. Financially, they want to be free to do what God has called them to do, and to be generous when they need to be generous, and to, buy some things when they would like to buy some things. They just want to be financially free. And in addition to that, they want to have a great relationship with God. They want to know God. And not only know God, like intellectually, but they want to experientially, they want to know him relationally. And then they have intentions when it comes to their health. They want to be healthy. And one of the greatest gifts they could give to one another and to their family is to give the healthiest version of them. And so, guys, I could go on, and there's a lot of intentions. But here's my point, is that if Buck and Jill are going in this direction, and these arrows, they represent their direction. In fact, these arrows represent actions, or these arrows represent their choices in life. If their choices in life, they're not aligned with their intentions, regardless of how much emotion, regardless of how bad they may want to experience and tell an incredible story of life, direction in their life trumps their intention every single time. In other words, if I had to summarize it, here's what I would say, is I would say this. I would say direction, not intention, will determine the story you tell on the other side. Direction, not intention, will determine the story you will tell on the other side of your intentions. Your intentions with your marriage, your intentions financially, the dreams that you have when it comes to your relationship with God, and to experience like God real in your life. When it comes to dating, when it comes to morality, when it comes to profession, whatever it is that every single time the principle is direction trumps intention, and direction will determine the story that you tell on the other side of your hopes, on the other side of your dreams, and on the other side of your desires. And guys, this is a very basic principle. And this works for every arena of life. And even though this is a basic principle, and even though this is very simple, I don't think as I'm presenting this, I think every one of you are going like, yeah, I get it. Even though this is so simple, for some reason, we have a tendency to miss this principle. And when we miss it, we begin to get on the other side of our intentions, and we tell stories we never want to tell. We look back on our marriage We look back on our kids. We look back on seasons of life, maybe difficult seasons of life. We look back on our relationship with God. We look back on our dating life. And oftentimes the story we tell isn't the story we want to tell. The story we tell is a story of regret, is a story of pain. And guys, here's the deal. I don't want you to tell that kind of story. I want every single one of us to begin to experience the things we intend, to begin to experience or tell the story we want to tell, to experience those desires in life. I want that for you, and I want that for me. So listen, over the next several weeks, what we're going to be doing is we're going to talk about this. Today we're going to talk about this principle, but over the next several weeks, we're going to talk about some very practical steps all of us can take so that we can tell the story we want to tell on the other side of our intentions. So today, to take this a little bit further and this discussion a little bit deeper, I want to talk about a very, very cool story found in Proverbs chapter 7. And Proverbs is actually written by a man named Solomon. Solomon lived about 900 years before Jesus shows up on the scene. And Solomon was a man who was not only the third king of Israel, but he also was known as the wisest man ever to live. That is Solomon. And Solomon wrote this letter called Proverbs, and he actually wrote it to his kids. And it's all these, insights and all this wisdom about all the different areas of life. And it's an incredible, incredible letter. And in Proverbs chapter 7, here's the context. Basically, Solomon is painting a picture of this old man who wakes up one day and he's looking through this window. And he's looking out into the street. And as this old man's looking out into the street, he sees this young man. And this young man is walking in a direction. And the old man, as he's watching the direction of this young man, it's so clear to him where this direction is going to lead. And the outcome is not going to be good. And guys, I think you've seen that in your life as well. I think you've looked at a friend or maybe looked at your spouse or looked at your son or daughter and said, I can see your direction and I can see the outcome of that direction. It's so clear to you. And guys, I've seen that in my life. In fact, I think about several months ago, I was driving our family car and I was at a stoplight. And next to me was my son, Sam. And so Sam's sitting there in his truck, and I'm sitting there, and I'm looking at him, and he's looking at me, and we're messing with one another and joking and talking about our NASCAR skills and all this kind of stuff. And so we're having fun. And there's several cars ahead of me, several cars ahead of him, and the light's red. And I'm in the turn lane, and he's going straight. So I look up, and I see my arrow, green arrow, turns green. The cars begin to go. I look at him. He's still looking at me, and I hit the gas. Well, Sam never looked forward and saw the red light. He's just looking at me. And so he decides he wants to beat me off the line. So he hits the gas as well. And it's like slow motion began to happen. And I look at Sam and I look at the car ahead of him and I look at the red light and I can see exactly what's about to happen. And like in slow-mo, I yell, no! But he didn't hear it. And he hit the gas and he smashed right in to the car in front of him. So I made a U-turn, went back, and we exchanged information, the whole thing. And everybody was okay. The cars were smashed up a little bit. But I share that with you because it was so clear what was about to happen, the direction Sam was going. And that's Solomon's point. And basically, Solomon is painting this picture, and he says there's this old man who's kind of looking out his window, and he sees a young man walking in a direction, and it's so clear where this direction is going to lead. So with that context, let's jump into Proverbs chapter 7. And here's what's happening. In Proverbs 7, Solomon says this, at the window of my house, I looked down through the lattice. I saw among the simple, I noticed among the young men, a youth who had no sense. Now, when you read this, initially you go like, wow, this is so harsh, Solomon. And honestly, it's not. All he's really saying is a youth who's simple or has no sense is somebody who doesn't have life experience. They're young. They haven't experienced all the things in life and connected all those dots in life. And perhaps when he said he lacked sense, maybe Solomon was ahead of his time and understood that the frontal lobe really doesn't develop until you're like 25, 26, and the frontal lobe kind of regulates all the, decision-making and processing and all that stuff. Maybe he was simply ahead of his time. But all Solomon is saying is that here's this young man, and he doesn't have a lot of life experience, and he's walking down the street, and the story continues. And it says he was going down the street near her corner, walking along in the direction of her house at twilight. As the day was fading, as the dark of night set in. Now, right here, we could just end the story, and every single one of us know exactly what's about to happen. Because here you have two individuals. You have this young man who's walking down the street, and he's walking towards her house, and he's thinking, man, this is going to be a great night. In fact, this young man has his AirPods in, and in his AirPods, he's playing a little Bob Marley, you know, the song Three Little Birds, where it's like, hey, don't worry about a thing. Every little thing gonna be all right. And he's thinking like, yeah, it's going to be great. Like this is just an experience. This is an event. It's no big deal. Meanwhile, in the background, looking out his window, the old man has his Walkman on because he's a little bit nostalgic and is holding on to his Walkman. And he puts his Walkman headphones on, and he's got the soundtrack of Jaws. Dun-dun, 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 dun-dun. I mean, he's seeing what's about to happen. And so you have the young man thinking it's an experience and it's an event. It's no big deal. Everything's going to be all right. And you have this old man looking out the window, listening to the soundtrack of Jaws. So what happens? Well, the story continues. Then came out a woman to meet him, dressed like a prostitute and with crafty intent. In other words, she was dressed in a very seductive way. She was dressed in a way, and she knew exactly what she was doing, her crafty intent. And so here she comes out. This young man's just walking towards her house, and he sees her. And what happens in this moment? Well, something a little bit unusual. Look at this. All of a sudden, she says, today I have fulfilled my vows. To which you want to go, what? What does this have to do with the story? This is so unusual. Well, here's what she's saying. She's saying, listen, today I've been to the synagogue and I've made, things right with God. I have emptied my sin bucket and I am ready to fill my sin bucket up with you. That's the context. Now, we hear that and oftentimes we're like, that's just weird. Like that's unusual, but come on, let's just be honest. Isn't that kind of what we do sometimes as well? I mean, regardless if you're Catholic or if you're Protestant, I think you know that we have a form of this. If you're Catholic, you go to the priest and you confess and empty your sin bucket, then the whole next week you fill your sin bucket up, then you go back to the priest. If you're a Protestant, you skip the priest, you go right to the source and you're like, hey, if I confess my sins, he's faithful and just and he's going to forgive me. And so we confess and we empty our sin bucket and then we go fill it all back up. Now, come on, let's just be really honest with this moment. Guys, that is such an insult to God, to somehow think we've come up with a system that we've figured this out, how to empty our sin bucket and just keep filling it up and filling it up. But that's what this woman's thinking. And she comes out dressed in a very seductive way. And she said, hey, my sin bucket is empty and I'm ready to fill it up with you. And so what happens? Well, here's what happens. So I came out to meet you. I looked for you and have found you. It's all about you. And look at this thing. Solomon gives us a little bit of commentary. He says, with persuasive words, she led him astray. She seduced him with her smooth talk. See, guys, what's so interesting is I read this for me. One of the things in my life when I try to move in a good direction, when I try to be faithful, when I try to do the right thing, it always seems like there's a parallel voice with that. There's this little voice in the background that's always just whispering. And that voice wants to pull me in a different direction. For example, I think one of the voices I hear is this. Hey, as long as no one knows, everything will be all right. Hey, Buck, as long as no one knows, hey, everything's just going to be all right. You don't need to tell them. You don't need to bring that up. Just keep that a secret. But it's not a secret. It's a direction. Another voice I hear is this, is do whatever makes you happy. Hey, do whatever makes you happy. And I'm telling you, every time I hear this voice, I think of this thought. I go, happy today or happy later? Because I can do things today that'll make me really happy, but it'll make me very unhappy later. And then I also think about this. I think happy for me, but also happy for him or happy for her, because oftentimes my happiness is going to come at their expense. I mean, this is a big deal. This is a direction. This is going to have direct implications if I listen to this subtle voice. Or another voice I listen to or I hear is this. I'll start on Monday. And especially like when it comes to diet or when it comes to exercise, and somebody brings me brownies or something. I'm like, man, those look awesome. And I'm like, I'll just start Monday. It's just no big deal. See, that's a direction. How about one more? Another voice I hear is this. But wait, there's more. right? And I am such a sucker for these infomercials where I need to buy that Sharknado vacuum thing or whatever that's called, right? I just love those gadgets. Don't buy things I simply do not need. And my point is this, is that when I try to do right, when I try to move in the right direction, because I really want to experience the things, I want to experience, those desires and dreams. When that happens, I'm just telling you, there's this subtle, seductive little voice trying to pull me in the opposite direction. And so here she is, this seductive voice pulling this young man. And what does he do? Well, we know. It continues. All at once, he followed her like an ox going to slaughter, like a deer stepping into a noose, till an arrow pierces his liver, like a bird darting into a snare, little knowing it will cost him his life. Thinking, the young man the whole time is thinking, no big deal. He's got his AirPods in, and he's playing the Bob Marley track, Three Little Birds, everything going to be all right. It's just an experience. Who cares? Everybody's doing it. And meanwhile, the man with wisdom, the man with life experience is watching all of this take place, and he's listening to the soundtrack of Jaws. Dun-dun, 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 dun-dun. And it cost him his life. And so Solomon pulls out of this story, and he begins to give us an important lesson for every single one of our lives. And here's what Solomon says. He says, do not let your heart turn to her ways or stray into her paths. Many are the victims she has brought down. Her slain are a mighty throng. And his point is this, regardless of how successful you are, regardless of how much money you have, regardless of how much life experience you have, regardless if you say, hey, I've been there, I've done that, I've figured this whole thing out before, Solomon says, be careful. Be careful. The mighty have gone down. We are all susceptible to this seductive voice. And then Solomon wraps it up and he says this, her house is a highway to the grave, leading down to the chambers of death. Meaning, guys, this is not a country road. This is not, it just happens to a few people. No. This is a highway. Every single one of us are susceptible. I don't care how successful you are. I don't care about, how big your IQ may be. I don't care how much success you've had in your past, or what the life experience you have. Solomon, brilliant Solomon, he's saying to you and to me, because he wants us to get on the other side of those intentions and experience the things we desire in life. He's saying, come on, guys, be careful with this. It's a highway, and we're all susceptible to give in to this temptation. And we're all susceptible to miss this very simple principle. Direction trumps intention. Direction trumps intention. So, I want to give you a couple examples of this, just to kind of play it out a little bit more in terms of direction and intention. Think about it this way. Here's a great intention. If somebody is to say, hey, I want our family to be a unit, everybody on the same page, looking forward to vacation together. I mean, that's a wonderful thing, right? It's a wonderful intention to have. I mean, that's something you desire, something I desire. So the question becomes, so what are you going to do? Well, here's what I'm going to do. So I'm going to go work all the time. What? Yeah, I'm going to go work all the time. And then we have all these justifications and we say things like, it's for my kids. I want them to experience things and I want them to have things. I want them to have a better life than I had. So I'm just going to choose to work and work and work. And it's not that one night. It's not that, 1 week at the end of the quarter or whatever it is. It's just consistent day after day, week after week. And we end up robbing the relationships with our kiddos. And all of a sudden we look around in our family and we may be experientially rich, but we are relationally poor as a family because it's all about the experience. And you see, it just highlights the principle, direction trumps intention. Or how about this one? Intention. I want my kids to respect me. That's a wonderful thing to desire. So what are you going to do? So I'm going to fool around on their mom. I mean, everybody does it. It's no big deal. Everything's going to be all right. As long as no one knows, everything's going to be okay. Come on, I'm just older. Life is just that business trip. It's just that one time. And we say all these things, and then all of a sudden we lose the hearts of our kids. We lose the respect of that relationship. Why? Because it's a direction, and direction trumps intention. Or how about this one? I don't want to live with financial pressure. Well, that's great intentions. So what are you going to do? So I'm going to live beyond my means, but wait, there's more. I'm so guilty of that. Or how about this, when it comes to God, this idea, I want to know God. What a great intention. That idea, not simply to intellectually know, but to experientially know, to relationally know your Heavenly Father, the things I've talked about, to invite Him in, to listen to His voice in life. Life is so complicated, we need to listen to His voice. I want to know that. That is a great intention. So what are you going to do? So I'm not going to read my Bible. So I'm not going to prioritize church. So I'm not going to serve, or I'm not going to be generous, or pick whatever. And then all of a sudden you look around and it feels like God is so distant, and our temptation is then to blame the church, blame the preacher, blame the ministries, blame all the stuff around us. But the whole time it was about direction. Direction trumps intention. How about this? I want to have a great relationship with my husband. That's wonderful. That's a great thing. So what are you going to do? So I'm going to make the children a priority over him. And every time he talks about maybe let's take a vacation, every time he kind of dreams a little bit, I'm just going to go, well, the kids. And then we wonder, why is there just this disconnect? Why is there this tension with my husband? I have intentions. I desire to be close to him. It's about the direction. And guys, we could keep going over or, on and on and on, but just one last one. How about this? Intention. I want to lose weight. That's a great intention. So what are you going to do? So supersize that. Would you? I'm just telling you, I'm so guilty of this, guys. But the point is this, and the thing I want you to hear as we begin this whole series called On the Other Side is this point, is that your direction, not intention, will determine the story you will tell on the other side. That your direction in life, not your intention, that's going to be the very thing that will determine the story you will tell on the other side of your dreams, on the other side of your intentions, on the other side of those, desires that you have as you look back on your marriage, as you look back on your life, as you look back on your finances, or whatever it may be. What's going to determine the story you will tell more than anything else is your direction, not your intention. So as we think about that, I just want you to think about a question. I want you to consider something. I want you to think about, first and foremost, kind of where you're at with your relationships. I want you to think about where you're at with your kids, or where you're at in a dating relationship, or where you're at morally, or where you're at in a relationship with God. And then I want to ask you a question, and it's this. If you continue in the direction you're going, what story will you tell on the other side? If you continue in the direction you're going, in terms of your finances, in terms of your marriage, in terms of parenting, if you continue in the direction you're going morally or in that dating relationship, if you continue in the direction you're going when it comes to your Heavenly Father, what kind of story are you going to tell? Let me ask you this. Is there anyone in your life that's warning you about your direction? That's saying, hey, can we talk about your finances? Can we talk about your moral choices? Can we talk about that dating relationship? Can we talk about the thing that I saw in your marriage? Is there anyone warning you? Or maybe, how about this one? Is there anyone in your life that if they didn't fear the retribution, if they didn't fear the judgment, if they didn't fear the defensiveness and all the pushback that they're going to get, if they were just simply free to tell you what it's like on the other side of you, what would they say in terms of your direction in life? You see, guys, here's the deal. In every single one of our lives, this principle either works for us or against us. And if you have leveraged this principle in your life, you know what I'm talking about. You have seen the benefit of that consistent direction in your life and how it's allowed you to tell the story you so desire to tell. I think every single one of us, when we see that old couple who's been married 50, 60, 70 years, and they're sitting in the restaurant, and they're holding hands, and you can just see their eyes sparkle, and there's such amazing, authentic love between them, we all look at that and we go, oh, man, I so want that. I so desire that. And that's a wonderful thing. But I guarantee, over those 50, 60, 70 years, there were so many choices and so many actions that led to that moment. I think we see, financially, a couple or an individual that, gets to a place and they're just doing what God's called them to do. They're making a difference in this world, and they are free financially to follow what God has asked them. And we see the difference it makes and the impact it makes on their life and the impacts it makes on the lives around. And we look at that and we're like, man, that's the story I want to tell. That's a wonderful story. But I guarantee behind the scenes, there was decision after decision, choice after choice. Or if you've watched the movie, Mr. Rogers, you know, when I first heard about the movie Mr. Rogers, I thought to myself, like, that's going to be boring. But then I finally watched the movie. And guys, it was a fantastic movie. And in the life of Mr. Rogers, I mean, he would get up in the morning and he would swim and he would make that decision. He would play the piano, and that was the way he would cope with a lot of things, traumatic things that happened in his life. And then he would write people's names down to remember their stories and remember their names because people were so important to him. And I'm telling you, look at his life. You watch the movie and the story he was able to tell on the other side of all those intentions he had in life. To hear his wife talk about their marriage, it was absolutely amazing. And my point is this principle can work for you or it can work against you. And the good news is this for you and me, is that all of us can start over today. Today, the hope is that wherever you're at, we can all start over and we can begin to move in a different direction today. So let me ask you one final question. What direction are you going in? What direction in your life are you going in? Because direction trumps intention and will determine the story you will tell on the other side. So guys, over the next several weeks, the thing that we're going to be talking about is this. And we're going to give you some very practical tools for all of us to take steps so that we can get to a place to tell a story that we so desire to tell on the other side of our intentions. Let me pray for us. Father, thank you so much for this moment, for this day, that we can just pause and remind ourselves of something that's so simple, but yet so profound. Father, I pray you open our eyes to the things we need to see and give us the courage to do what we need to do and move in a different direction. In Jesus' name, amen.
What an incredibly helpful and practical reminder for all of us. If you want to continue to unpack what Buck just talked about today, you can find a complete list of discussion questions on our app, or just stick around for a few more seconds and we'll put a few up on the screen that you can just think through or discuss with whoever you're watching with. Thank you again for tuning in to North Point Online. We hope you have a great week. Don't forget to hug your mom, and we'll see you next time for part 2 of On the Other Side.